I smiled more yesterday than I have in a really, really, really long time. And not only is just that awesome, but it tells me that I'm really on the right track. So this trip, like I'm down in Playa del Carmen. It's June 9th, Sunday. I've been out here for almost a week. And I mean, there's so many cool things about the trip, but this really is like a manifestation of something I put in motion in 2015. So I don't talk about my woo-woo side a lot. I describe myself as kind of like, I don't know, I'm like a moderate about a lot of things. So I kind of describe myself as like I'm like woo-woo light, right? So, I like some astrology stuff. I like to, I like my oracle cards, I like crystals, I like incense. But I don't live my life by it, right? I don't have to pick up a tarot card or an oracle card every time I need to make a decision. I don't reach for a pendulum. So and I don't know, it's something I want to focus more on, but it's just, I don't know, whatever. But when I feel the need to do something woo-woo, I do it. So back in 2015, I got some feedback from someone who was one of my Uber passengers. I was doing rideshare driving, and he was listening to yet another story about how I was trying to get my coaching business off the ground and it just wasn't quite working. And something else, I don't even remember specifically, but my stories generally went something like, I'm working really hard. This is happening. It looked like it was going good. I was building up momentum, and then I hit a wall. Something exploded, in my life or in my business. And I would always make it funny, but this was a common thread. And I didn't see that, but I was telling him the story like on one of my many trips of driving him, home or to the airport because he was a business traveler. And he was like, Heather, he was like, you're like a plucky sitcom character that just can't catch a break. And I was so offended, but it really made me think. And I was like, he's not wrong. And, I'm trying and trying and trying in this business, but there's a part of me that doesn't want to be successful. There's a part of me that's afraid of being successful. There's a part of me that's afraid of people seeing me as successful because then maybe they won't like me. They'll be jealous. They'll judge me. And it brought up a lot of stuff. And so in this kind of rare moment, I got real woo woo. And I just felt like guided, almost pushed to perform this transformation ritual. So, for several days after this conversation, I just became obsessed with designing this ritual and with, gathering up supplies. And I rented a cabin because at the time I was sharing a 500 square foot apartment with a friend of mine who I was not sleeping with. He was like my gay little brother. And it was a tiny apartment. So, I couldn't kick him out to like go do witchery. And so, but I remember like I would be trying to sleep and my mind would be like, okay, but you need to do this and write this down because you need to like get this candle or you need to blah, blah, blah. And mind you, like I was barely scraping by. Like I wasn't even completely scraping by. Like my grandmother was helping me to keep me afloat. Like well, she was like helping me by like buying whatever new coaching program, whatever business coaching program I'd seen on Facebook, and I'd let them convince me that it was going to solve all my problems. So, I wasn't in the financial state to be buying a bunch of candles and crystals and, renting a cabin, but I got the cabin kind of at a discount because a friend of mine owned the cabin thing, but nonetheless, became obsessed. And I went to this cabin in the woods and I did this like 6 hour transformation ritual. Like it was so fucking thorough. It was just crazy. And like part of it, like I was reading out, like I made a list of all the characteristics that I currently had. And I read them out. And if it was something that I wanted to release, I thanked it and I set it aside to be burned. And if it was something I wanted to keep, I put it in a separate pile. And then after that, like I went and I burned all the things that I was releasing and I read it aloud again and said, I released this, burned it. Then like I took a shower and like washed all the smoke off myself and everything. And then I went and I read out all these things that I was calling in, things that weren't, true about me yet, but that I wanted to call in. And if I stumbled over saying something, I made myself say it over and over again until I could spit the whole thing out without stumbling over it. And so some things I had to say, some things I said once instantly, and it came out like with authority. I had to like speak from my stomach. I had to speak like I really believed it. And there were other things that I had to do, multiple times in order to get it out and say it the way I really wanted to. And I had it in a circle with my candles and my crystals and a lot of the stuff I already had. I didn't spend like a shit ton of money, but like really from a logical standpoint, I shouldn't have spent any money on it, right? And I knew at the time, I was like, I didn't have the expectation that I was going to wake up the next day and everything was going to be different. But after I did the ritual, I did feel different. And, um, things did not change overnight. Certainly not, because that was 2015. But when I was in Asheville, I had a moment, the first open mic that I went to. It was one of the big reasons that I went up there. So I just wanted to do a lot of performing, in a place where they had lots of open mics. So I was on the stage and people like Asheville has so many talented musicians. And so like the first person got up and played, and it was the woman who was hosting the open mic, and her name was Hope. Her name is Hope something. I'll find it because she's amazing. You should definitely check her out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she is so talented. Like maybe I should just go home. But like honestly, like I know I'm a talented musician. I'm not as talented as her. But I know I'm talented enough. I was like, I can hang with this, but I was intimidated. But I got up on the stage, and when I sing, especially when I sing and play guitar, it's like a moving meditation for me. Like I really just go into another place, like another plane of existence. And I'm up there and I was playing, and I don't even remember which song I was playing. Because I like did four songs, but I just had this moment. I was like, this is you manifesting the life that you really wanted. This is a part of you, that transformation ritual that you did 9 years ago. This is a part of it coming true. And I was like, whoa, wow, and I think it's like, it's not that what I did wasn't powerful. And, maybe it would have been more powerful if I was more consistent with my spiritual practices. I could definitely see that being true. But a lot of it was I was in therapy and I was doing personal growth and everything, but I had no idea how much abuse I had actually suffered. I had blinders on about it. And, it wasn't until my father died and I got into like a different type of therapy. I started doing EMDR therapy with trauma informed therapists. And you would think that all therapists were trauma informed, but they're not. So working with a different kind of therapist, working with different modalities, it's really helped me to understand like why I struggled for so long in my business, why I my life has just not come together the way that you would think it would, because I'm a highly intelligent person, but I've done a lot of really dumb shit. Just didn't understand why, and I would beat myself up, and shame and guilt spirals, which of course just made everything worse, right? But now I understand, like I have PTSD. I have complex PTSD on top of PTSD, right? So it's no wonder that it took a long time for things to like really like snap into place and for me to start manifesting this really big thing. And I think that's the other thing, that the bigger the ask of the universe, yeah, it could change it overnight. And I think the universe is amazingly powerful. Spirit, God, Goddess, whatever floats your boat, Yoda. I like to say thank Yoda. That makes me happy. Thank the force. But I think the bigger the ask, the longer it may take. And I think that I had to do a lot of internal arranging, for this to happen. And so, the first kind of like little inkling of it was me being on stage in Asheville. And it was just an open mic. It's not like people were paying to come see me perform, but I was doing what I loved, and I was making stuff happen for myself. And then last night, well, and since I've been here, like I went to meet a couple of people that were like expats. And it was like, I'm gonna go make some friends, but I managed my expectations and I'm like, I'm gonna go meet some people and maybe we'll be friends, maybe we won't. I don't know. So I didn't really feel a lot of connection with them. But then like the next night, oh no, that same night, I was on the rooftop of my Airbnb. There's a pool up there. The laundry room is also up there. So how awesome is it that you can go swim in a rooftop pool while you're doing your laundry? And there's a group of people up there, and I met them. And it turns out that all of them were extremely talented and creative people. One was an underwater photographer. One paints really realistic murals. Like she had a painting of a cobra, and I mean, it looks like the cobra is like gonna come off the freaking wall and get you. And it's really beautiful, but it's like intense, right? And then this other guy has tons of music on Spotify, and it's like the best R&B I've heard in years. I haven't listened to R&B in years because I just couldn't take the message anymore. And I really, and maybe it's gotten better since 2005. I just haven't checked in, but his stuff, like, I love it. It's so good. His name is Miles Costello, Myles Costello. I'll put a link to his Spotify channel, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's got his music. Go listen to it. You'll thank me. It's amazing. So I met them, and like they were really cool, but I'm like, I feel so I have social anxiety, and I'm like, they seem like they're too cool for me, but they were really nice to me. And so I'm like, I don't think we're going to be lifelong friends or anything, but like they were cool people, and they welcomed me for a little while. So that was nice. And then the next day, I randomly ran into a woman from Canada named Cherie, and ended up going to cenotes with her yesterday. And then we came back to Playa del Carmen, and we were going to go out together. She had some problems with her Airbnb. Like the guy gave her stained sheets. They're clean, but they're stained. And she was like, So she ended up having to deal with that. But I went out by myself, and just walking through the streets, and just like it's a party vibe, but it's not like people puking in the streets partying. It's not like out of control, but people are just having a good time. There's a lot of music. There's so many. Oh my God, I passed this restaurant, and this girl was singing the end of I'll Always Love You by Whitney, the Whitney Houston version. And I mean, she's killing it. She's a little Mexican girl just killing it. Oh my God. And it hit me again. I was like, this is a manifestation of that 2015 ritual. This is me becoming the type of person who is creating the life that I'm meant to live. And y'all, I like adventure. I like excitement. I like, jumping off platforms into cenotes. There's not a video, but there's pictures. I'll put those will be on my social media. Um, I like meeting interesting people. I like being around a lot of creative people, a lot of music, a lot of performance. I like really good food, and Playa del Carmen has really good food, and it's really fresh. Like I'm finding healthy places to eat that I don't care that it's healthy. It tastes so damn good, and my body feels good because it's actually healthy stuff. Um, so yeah, so it's really cool that I can see that, this thing that I set into motion, um, is coming to fruition. But I think it's also important to talk about, you know, stones and cards and rituals and all the things are great. They're wonderful. I do think that they help give a little oomph to our desires and to what we want to create. But if I had just done that ritual and never gotten a one-to-one business coach, my business wouldn't have ever gotten off the ground. If I had just done that ritual and not, gone back to therapy several times and really did a lot of soul searching, that the ritual wouldn't have done anything, right? So I think it's important for us to talk about and acknowledge that, magic and rituals and woo-woo and all the things are wonderful, but you still have to take action. You still have to take action to make things happen, and it may take a really really long time, especially if you've asked for like a big life change. So from living in a 500 square foot apartment with my friend, um and the place, we had a structure fire one night. It was an old building, and there was a heater in the wall, and it had like come unhooked from something, and so it was leaning against the 2x4 and slowly setting it on fire. And fortunately, we smelled the smoke, and we had the fire department come out, and they were able to put out the fire, and nobody died. But that's what I was living in, and I was working for Uber, barely making ends meet. I couldn't get my business off the ground. I hated sales and marketing, couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that felt good. Um, yeah, so very, very different to now, like doing world traveling and be more confident about my business and having got my business off the ground and actually help people get some like pretty amazing results. So it's not just a theory anymore. It's like, oh, I can do this. And I've published 2 books. I've published 2 consumer books. One was online entrepreneur survival guides, so consumer, both of them for consumer advocacy, to help people get better, choose better coaches and avoid getting scammed. And the other one was what every entrepreneur wishes they'd known before hiring a business coach. And I've put those out. My YouTube channel is starting to take off. The one that's about business, this one's separate. I've become a stand-up comic and even a paid stand-up comic. I got paid to do stand-up earlier this year. I got paid 50 whole bucks, which is amazing for somebody who's been doing stand-up for less than 2 years. Um, yeah. So there's a lot of good changes happening, and I'm really excited. I'm really grateful. Um, I'm really proud of myself for making this happen and taking the risk. And yeah, so more to come about my adventures in Mexico. And you can check my social media for pictures of the cenotes and I don't know, whatever else I get into while I'm here. All right.